Hello, everyone. We are now live. I am Ernestine Lyons, the host of Quick to Politic, and we are joined by a wonderful special guest here today. We have Cynthia Douglas of the Grosse Pointe Harper was NAACP, and she is a modern Renaissance woman. She has worn multiple hats, very active, an activist, and she is just wonderful. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Cynthia. Let's get
Oh,
to know you.
get to know me. So thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to present myself to individuals and introduce myself to others and have others who already know me to get a little bit more acquainted. So I thank you very much. And I thank you for everything that you're doing within the community. So thank you. And thank you for this time. So like you said, I am Cynthia Douglas. I am the president of the Grosse Pointes in Harper Woods and NAACP. I've been president for the last 2 years or so. I just got reelected to president, so I'll be serving my second term as president. In my previous life, I worked for three mayors of the city of Detroit, and I worked for the city of Detroit for 18 years. And I'm currently employed with Wayne County, been at Wayne County for 14 years, and worked for the then chairwoman, Jewel Ware, who we recently lost. She passed, and I want to offer condolences to her family. If it was
And
not
me
for
as
her,
well. That was
yeah,
that was just very sad to hear.
it
And
was.
I have never had the pleasure of meeting her, but it was very sad, all the
Yeah,
same
she
to
was
me
a
too.
wonderful woman. Learned a lot from her, a strong community leader. And I miss her. If it was not for her, I would not have been at Wayne County because that's where I started my employment was with her. And so she would be greatly missed. I can imagine the commission without her, but wonderful. So I just want to offer my condolences to her family. So again, I was with the county. I've been with the county for 14 years. I'm currently executive assistant for the whole commission now. And, it's just been great. I serve on the board for the Grosse Pointe Chamber of Commerce. And that's it, I think. Yeah. So,
So serving on the Grosse Pointe Chamber of Commerce is actually a new fun fact that I didn't know about. I know
oh,
that you know just about everybody within Wayne County, and but of course, that's just naturally a fit for you. So, you
yeah.
know, thank you so much for telling us about yourself. And I wanted to also say to those of you out there watching on Facebook, there was a little bit of a delay. We are here with Cynthia Douglas, the president of the Grosse Pointe Harper Woods NAACP. So we're going to dive right into some questions to just talk about. This year has been very, very. It's been a different year. It's people keep saying, it's an unprecedented year. We faced a lot of challenges, but you know, you are an activist and a community leader. And what has this year been like as far as facing and seeing social justice? And would you say that this is a different type of social justice revolution that we've seen in 2020, and we've seen some of these the fights, the struggles, the nationwide protests. um, do you think that we've really moved the needle forward this year more so than others as far as fighting for rights of marginalized people? Or do you say that this is nothing compared to other things I've seen, and where do you see this struggle continuing to go from here?
Well, being a part of a civil rights organization such as NAACP that has been fighting for civil rights for over 100 years. And this is just another chapter for the NAACP. We have been fighting for civil rights for, like I said, over 100 years. And each time is something different, but everything is the same in some way, because we are fighting for civil rights. This year, I think the difference is that with the media, with the Facebooks, and such a quickness to see these things firsthand and immediately after or during the act, there's a difference. So now people get to see these things in real time, as opposed to when we were having riots and other unrest, such as this, like the George Floyd incident, where we saw that in almost real time. So in the past, we had to wait, until the media chose to present us with these things. But because of the social media aspect of things, I think that makes a big difference. And people really see how, African Americans are being treated in real time. And to see a man um, die before your eyes, and we're home during this COVID time. So, you spending a lot of more time in front of the TV. And so to watch this man die in front of your eyes and call for his mother it was just unreal. And I think that woke a lot of people up to say, wait a minute, why is this officer on his neck? You got four people, sitting on this man, he's handcuffed. Why is that happening? So I think it woke a lot of people up to the realization that these things are real and they happen, and they happen in real time. So this is not new to the NAACP, because we've been fighting for these things and we've seen it down the line. The March on Selma, where they were attacked, they were peacefully marching, people were attacked, including Congressman Lewis, who was in that group, and he was attacked, beaten, and suffered some severe injuries. But we didn't see those things until the media decided that they wanted to put those on TV. But now in 2020, we see these things in real life. So I think we go through stages, ebbs and flows with the different civil rights issues that we have. We're in this moment now with these injustices, with police issues, and how they handle Black people. And I think people are really seeing how this community, these groups are being handled. Black people have been suffering for years, so now we get to see it in real time. So.
I'm actually glad that you mentioned, seeing things in real times, and this kind of leads to a off the script question that's a little bit more about how the immediacy of social media. And this is something that, okay, 5 years ago, you had, a lot of civil unrest, and that's when you first started hearing Black Lives Matter. And, at the middle part of last decade, you were seeing a lot of this sort of, mobilization because of social media. But now I think that social media is a little bit more, it's omnipresent. It's everywhere. Everyone has a smartphone. Back then, maybe only a couple of people had smartphones. But,
Right.
I think the immediacy kind of leads to a greater sense of mobilization, and then movements lead to actual demands. And this is something that I saw for the first time. I didn't see this when, people were protesting in the streets, 5 years ago, when you had, just a lot of these same, case after case after case, unarmed Black person, being shot, being
Right.
murdered. There wasn't this sense of, we're going to march in the street. Everybody's going to do it. It's not just us Black people, but it's everybody. But then we're also going to have demands. There were no
Yep.
demands that came out of, what happened last time. And so now, this decade, I think things are different. And you pointed out that whole immediacy of social media. And then you said something that has to do with, like, how things are going to be handled. The media in the past had control over the narrative that we were
Right.
hearing. But
Correct.
now it's more social media dictates what the media will do. And so, this is a conversation I had with Randy Wembley from Fox 2 News he was on an episode of Quick to Politic, and we talked about how social media influencers and social media folks who are, info, what was the term that it's a term that's being floated around out there, where it's like you're an internet informer.
Mm.
And, he talked about how in some ways they are dictating what the news should be covering. When the media is not controlling the narrative anymore, the people are. So
Right.
what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, and I think that it's a good thing. In some instances, I think it's a good thing because, like I said, in previous times, the media, like you said, the media controlled what we saw when we saw it. So now with this instant media coverage with people on Facebook who are diligent about posting things and, letting communities know what's going on. That's how a lot of us find out about what's going on in our community. And now that this has happened, the media has to step its game up and try to be ahead of it again, try to be the ones, because that's how they get their ratings. That's how they get their, viewership, because they want to be the first to break the news, breaking news and, that kind of thing. But people are paying more attention to social media now than they have with news industries. And I think it's a good thing because we need to know these things. We need to know what's going on in our community. So I think, on one end, it's good. Some things need to be left off of social media, but things of importance like the George Floyd matter, like the marches that we have, and some as we post these things on Facebook, they're more positive, about the marches and things like that. Whereas the media we need to see what's going on and people causing more disturbance at these marches than anything. But there's also a positive side on it, and we also need to see that side as well. So.
I'm really glad that you shed some light on that. And I think, case in point, I know one of the state representatives was recently in trouble. I believe her name is Cynthia Johnson,
Right.
over just responding to something on social media. And
Right.
even in my own community, you were the one who reached out to me over the past summer when a lot of different things happened in my own community of Harper Woods. And honestly, I was hearing it from you for the first time because of something you saw on social media or whatever the case. And so, I think it's really, it's a sign of the times. And, I remember when I first got on Facebook and started using social media, like, I think 2007 is when I first got a Facebook account. I never would have imagined that it would have been the thing that was controlling me and telling me
Right.
where my news is going to be and informing me of anything. So, thank you so much for that perspective. But I do want to shift gears here for a little bit. You recently ran for school board for the Grosse Pointe School District, and where diversity and representation were at the forefront of discussions. And so tell us about the platform that you ran on with the school board.
So I mainly ran on the race, equity, and inclusion, and also the digital divide that we experience here, and also to support our teachers, especially during this COVID period. They have a hard job that they had to balance, during this COVID, trying to balance their own family life, because a lot of the teachers had children, and then to balance, going to work and having to support a job in which they like, they love most of them. So, it was to support them, but more importantly, the race, inclusion, and equity of everything. We have students who are marginalized in our district. And so I felt that they weren't being serviced. We have students who in this COVID time don't have access to internet, who don't have access to the latest equipment, either a computer or iPad. They're doing their homework and schoolwork on an iPhone that's shared by their parents. And the connections are not great, or either they don't have the quality service. If you have 4 people in your house and you have internet service that is not up to speed, and you have 4 people, 2 students or 3 students and a mother or a father or whoever, and all these people are on the internet, it slows everything down, and it made a number of students difficult to be able to learn in this kind of environment. And so those marginalized students, and I'm not only talking about students of African American descent, but we also have students that had special needs, who also suffered in this environment. So, but then we had those students who have the latest and greatest, who have iPads, who have laptops, who have great internet service, and it's not an issue, who had that and were able to learn. Although it's probably difficult for them too because of the socialization part of it. And I think all students, and parents need that break, to have their students in class. And then the socialization, I think that builds character for students as well, to be around other students, to understand how things work and working together, as opposed to being at home with your parents. But, that was my whole thing, is to have inclusion within our school district, because our district is changing. We're getting more and more people of color in this community, and we need to adapt, our school board and the administration. We need to see more people of color in those positions. We have a few principals who are of color, Roy Bishop, who is at Mason, who is phenomenal, and he's here. We have a couple of teachers now that we have in the school district, but it's still not enough. We still need to change. Our school board now has, Joe Hurd, but we still need more diversity on that school board. The reason I ran is because I wanted, young ladies who look like me to see me there representing them. During the reconfiguration, we heard how, students and parents from Popard were not comfortable coming to the school board meetings or talking to the administration because they felt they weren't being heard. I heard that a number of times, and so I felt that I needed to be their voice. And so that's what I ran on, was to have inclusion of all students. And now that the reconfiguration has happened, we need to support those students of color that are over here now, who are attending Mason and Monteith and the other schools that they're attending. So we need to support them in those issues, because they belong here. They're part of this community and they need to be treated as such. So.
I'm glad you touched on the social equity and just, diversity sort of talking point, because there were some candidates who ran and who were unsuccessful. They ran on kind of a hate slate. This is what, members of the community had actually dubbed it, where I remember during a debate hosted by the League of Women Voters, there was a sort of segment that they talked about certain kids don't belong in Grosse Pointe. And they say, oh, here comes that bus from, one woman actually said this, here comes that bus from that school with those kids who, don't really belong here. And I remember thinking, I can't believe that, in this little area here, especially considering that Grosse Pointe has had a lot of changes, especially since, you guys as the Grosse Pointe, Harper was NAACP, and then welcoming everyone Grosse Pointe, or we GP, you're really advocating for a change. And to me, it's not necessarily even a racial change, it's a socioeconomic one that has historically been exclusionary in Grosse Pointe.
Right.
And I think it has more to do with the fact that, there's been a lot of wealth and privilege in the Grosse Pointes for a very long time. And so now you do have a lot more people who are, working class, middle class, and moving into the points, and upwardly mobile people who want opportunities. And I think that's where, that shift is changing, and people are not necessarily comfortable with seeing those kind of changes. So it's that compounds also the racial element. So, what were some of your thoughts when you were hearing some of these things about, what some of your opponents were, saying as you ran for school board?
Well, first of all, it was very disappointing. That was not the first time that I've heard things like that. During reconfiguration, we heard those same things where they referred to the children from Popard, they and them, which was very hurtful to hear. And so as we continued on this, like you said, the hate slate, and the one person in particular who was talking about they didn't belong here and they're coming into somebody else's community. This is the community that they are entitled to be in because they pay taxes, and they are supposed to be within the Grosse Pointe school system. And my thing is that, if that should have been a learning point for that person who said that when they saw children saying, here comes that bus, that's a learning opportunity for you to pull your child aside and tell them that is not the appropriate thing to say. You know, these children are part of the school system, and it doesn't matter if they come by bus, car, bicycle, whatever, they are still a part of this community and we should treat them as such. Or, you know, have your child introduce themselves to the children, you know, coming from part and welcome them into the schools that they're now attending. It's their school. It doesn't matter, you know, if they attended one school and now they're at another school, it's still their school and they are entitled to be a part of that. And for a grown person in 2020 to say that, it's just disheartening. We have enough with our children, you know, being disrespectful, but that children are not born that way, they're taught. They've heard that from someone, and it's more than likely an older person. So now you have an older person teaching your child your ways, but we need to start teaching our children to respect differences. There's nothing wrong with being different. They're different than somebody else. You know, your child is different from another child. That child is different from another child. So we need to honor and respect each other's differences and not taunt them because of the fact that they are different.
Thank you for elaborating on that. And I think that our diversities are our strengths, and it's really important to be able to have those teachable moments and to have those moments where we are being the better angels, and we are just really advocating for being the best versions of ourselves. So I
Correct.
do want to, kind of get a little bit more into, your role in the, so you tried your hand at running for the Harper Woods, I'm sorry, not Harper Woods, but the Grosse Pointe School Board. And so now you're back with the NAACP, and what is your vision for, just continuing that struggle, that platform that you ran isn't going anywhere? You still are the same Cynthia who's like lit up and excited and invigorated about bringing about that sense of social justice. So what's the vision for the Grosse Pointe Harper Woods NAACP? Because it's 111 years since the NAACP was founded, and we're still fighting for social justice.
Correct. Yeah, and just so I tried to get appointed to the school board twice prior to running. And I, after the second time of trying, to get appointed, and I was turned down. And but they got a great person in Joe Hurd, during that time. But after that time, I was like, well, you know what? I want to give the community an opportunity to express. And although I wasn't chosen this time, my passion was always there for children of this district. It was always there, and for this community ever since I moved in here. So 14 years ago. So the passion has always been there, and it will continue to be there. My vision for the branch is to continue to grow, to continue to support this community. We've been hosting government leader forums where we invite the mayors and public safety officers from all 5 Grosse Pointes, the Harper Woods, and East Point. We've had great dialogue about the issues that we feel are important to people of color that live in this community. And we've had some great dialogue, some great back and forth, and there has been some initiatives done and some changes done. And we plan to continue that in 2020. So we really want to bring that to the forefront and invite the community to communicate with us in terms of what their concerns are with the issues that they're having within the community, so that we can bring those to those individuals that we're meeting with on a monthly basis. Also, we want to get more youth involved as well. I'm so passionate about these young people here, and they have so many ideas and so many things that they can bring to the table, because trust me, 10 years, I don't want to be still, I'm president of Grosse Pointe Harper Woods and NAACP. I want a young person to be saying that. I want a young person to be taking over the realms. We have a young man now that is part of our youth division, Jalen Bradley. He is a dynamic young man. I just love him. And he's bringing a lot of ideas to us, things that we, as the elder people sometimes don't think about, and just having those fresh ideas and those fresh ears and those fresh brains, bringing us more ideas of how we can better service the community is a passion of mine as well. I'm passionate about bringing young people into this fold, as well as continuing to work with the group that we have now, the membership that we have now. They are passionate about this as well, and they want what's best for this community, and they're willing to do a lot of things to service the community and to bring forth ideas. I mean, we can't do this by ourselves. It takes a village to do this, and we have a village within our branch, but we would like more people to join us, and anybody who wants to attend our meetings, we have them the second Thursday of the month at 6 o'clock. We post them on our Facebook page, and we welcome anybody. We welcome if you would like to just sit in and listen. We welcome new members, and as long as you support the mission of the NAACP, we welcome you.
Right.
So, I mean, we want to continue to do the work of civil rights. We want to continue to bring forth the issues that African Americans face on a daily basis. We want to bring insight to how can we work together, to make this community a better place for everybody, so that's what we want. We want to have open dialogue. We want to have the hard discussions about race. We want to have the hard discussions about equity. We know they're difficult to talk about, and we know there are some people out there who don't think there's an issue, because they've lived in the privileged bubble for so long. And now that things are coming forward and we're saying, wait a minute, you've had this privilege all this time, there's room to share. We're not trying to take anything away from you. We want the same thing that you do. So we want to bring those talks together. We know they're difficult, but we have to have them in order to change this world, in order to change this community. So.
Wow, that is a very lofty list of things and goals and aspirations. And I love that sort of leadership where you're just like, well, I'm just going to rattle off like these are 14 different things that I want to do. And I love that you mentioned the, working across generations, because I think in some ways, it's once you become, a person who's in a position of leadership, it can be hard, it can be hard because you have to fight hard to get where you are. And then, it's hard to kind of let other people in. And just last week I had a conversation with Generation Z, which is the young folks who come after millennials. So they're the ones born from 1997 to the 2000s, and they had a lot of perspective that I, as a millennial, I didn't even think about. Like, oh, okay, well, that's actually kind of innovative, and I like the way that you think about that issue and why it's more important than say an issue that to me is more relevant. And I really enjoy having cross-generational conversations, because I don't know, I think it's because my name is Ernestine, and I think I'm meant to be a baby boomer or like an older lady, because I don't meet any young people
No, not
with a
any young
name like
Ernestine.
Ernestine.
Right.
Right. So I feel like I spend most of my time with baby boomers, and having that conversation, there's so much wisdom to be gained, from the generations before me and even Generation X. And so I think we should always be looking for opportunities to mentor and to learn from each other across generations. So I'm glad that that's a focus. And I was actually, like, the last time I did come to an NAACP meeting, it was like I was really excited to see just so many different demographics and backgrounds, and just I think it was someone from the State Department actually even brought up, it's like, wow, this is such a diverse NAACP meeting.
Right.
And I think that's
political parties too. We have Republicans and Democrats and liberals, and just across the board. I mean, we have the whole gambit. So, but these people support that mission. These people want to see equal opportunities for everybody. And they want to have those hard talks. So they're part of this organization because they care. So yeah, it's and the older people that we have, I'm not young, I'm 60 years old. I'm not 62.
What
I just,
strategy you be using? I didn't think.
okay.
I'm thinking you're Generation X, so
No, 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 no. I'm 60. I just turned 62. I don't have a problem saying that. And I grew up in a different time. So I have some things that I can offer a young person, and they have things they can offer me, in a different perspective about how things should be handled. Look at the marches that were held around
oh
our
yeah, all
community.
by Generation Z. So they're just like
Exactly.
mobilizing, and they're
Exactly. They
23, 22,
organized and they
right?
did what needed to be done, and they used that social media to get people out and get people marching. And I just applaud them, because that is just wonderful to see that these young people are taking an interest in what's happening in their community and around them, and they're not afraid to speak up, so
Not at
that
all.
is
Not at
right.
all.
But that's what the NAACP has been all about. We've been marching since for 110 years plus. So these children, these young people, these generations after me have, without knowing it, maybe have taken a play out of the book of the NAACP to do marches, and they're doing it in a different way, but they're doing it,
Okay.
and it's just amazing. So
Right. And I definitely, I couldn't agree more. So do you think that, we talked about 111 years of the
oof,
NAACP. Will there be a day where we don't need the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping that there will be a day that we, in the words of Martin Luther King, that we can all join together, Black boys, Black girls, white boys, hand in hand, all together. Um, but the only way that we can get there is if we have the difficult conversations, if we open our eyes and our hearts and our minds to be open and receptive to everybody and to listen to what they have to say. We've been living in a world of privileged individuals. We've been the ones on the outside who have not enjoyed. There are some of us who enjoy some privilege, but not, like white people. And I hate to say it like that, but that's just the way it is. But there's privilege there, and they've had the privilege, and it is so ingrained in some of them that they can't see beyond that. They can't see beyond that. They are holding the privilege to themselves, and they're not willing to share that. We need to be able to bring other people into the fold, people of color into this fold. We deserve the same opportunities as they have. We want to have that privilege to be able to walk the streets without. I was sharing this story the other day. When I go for my walk, I walk, about between 2 and 5 miles a day. And when I leave out of my house, I take my ID with me. I make sure I have it on me. It's not because I've been stopped by the police. It's not because they have done anything to me or anybody else has done anything to me, but it's been so ingrained in us, and it's been taught to us that you need to always have your ID on you, because you never know when you'll be stopped because you're in a particular neighborhood that people don't think you belong in, so it has to come a day where people can live where they want to live without fearing repercussion. I'm not saying that people should not be pulled over when they do wrong. Absolutely they should, and I applaud the police for doing their jobs, and they have a hard position to do their jobs, especially now with the way things are now. They're being looked at different. However, they have some work that they need to do as well. They can't deny the fact that these things have been happening to African Americans who come into the Grosse Pointes. They can't deny that it's happened. So we need to work on that. So I'm hoping for the day, and I hope to be able to live to see that day where, we won't have to have these issues and these conversations. I look forward to that day. But if we are not willing to have those difficult conversations, it's not going to happen.
And
you know.
speaking of like having that day, we have a comment here from the audience. And it's Tafiri Brent saying that Sister Cynthia, your day is coming soon. And I think he's meaning like all of the things that you worked so hard for, and
Uh,
having these, just seats and places and spaces that you've worked really hard to be in that space to affect change. So.
and I
And
appreciate Teferi. He is a great guy. He's always been there when I needed him, and he's a great brother. Love him to death. So yeah, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. We have a lot of really great comments out here. Folks, a lot of folks are watching, and I wanted to also mention, like you talked about privilege. I think a lot of that privilege it plays into the socioeconomics of it. There's the capitalist system is one that upholds patriarchy. So I think that in some ways, the patriarchy is going to continue to uphold that sense of, your narrative is more important than another person's narrative. And I think, just to, I think to me, it's a little bit more about, controlling and subjecting people to something because of, where people stand on the socioeconomic level, or where the powers that be would sort of like to see, just folks who I don't know, I think they think are like deserving of being in a lower status. I know I had Commissioner Tim Killeen on the show, and he talked about, the plight of the Irish, and, how this was always a group that was, just marginalized and, looked down on and, treated like dirt by the English for so long. And then here comes another whipping boy, when you had Africans brought to this country in 1619. So it's like, it's always going to be a part of the patriarchy and the capitalist system to really try to tear people apart and really try to push certain groups down and to keep people opposed. And I think that we're entering an age where you said in the very beginning of the interview that people woke up, and people keep using this term woke, and I think it's more about people seeing that we all collectively need to gain from people's oppression being lifted. So
Right.
thank you so much for that perspective. Um, and so that kind of leads to one of my last questions, which is just to get to know you a little bit
Ah,
more. I've had a lot of really great conversations with you since becoming an elected official, since joining the NAACP. And you've just like been a spot of sunshine, and you strike me as somebody who works so tirelessly. And I remember one time you talked to me for like an hour, and
ah, oh
it was just
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I really appreciate, she's the president. And she just gave me like, oh, this unfettered time that was like, she could have been doing so many other important things, but I really appreciate, you and your hard work. And but what are some of your hobbies and talents and hidden talents, special interests and passions all together?
Oh my God. First of all, let me just say this. When people take time to call me, it's an honor for me to have them even call me, even, someone of your stature to call me and just have a conversation with me. And it's my duty as a person who is in the position that I'm in to talk to them, because what they have to say is important, and I don't just fluff people off. That's one of the things I learned in my years of in being this political realm. I worked with Coleman Young and worked with Dennis Archer, and of course, like I said, Jewel Ware. And I learned from each of these individuals something. And one thing I learned is that to listen, there's nobody, that's not important. I need to take that time. If you took the time to call me, I'm going to take the time to talk to you. So, and if I don't have that moment, then I will get back to you, so that's just it. So that's just how I am. I'm just an everyday person. I didn't start off being in the civil rights. My parents came from the South, and they were kind of complacent with where they were. They had a good life, but not like, we weren't filthy rich or anything, but I really didn't, and they didn't teach me a lot of things about, the civil rights movement. But I had a grandfather who taught me as well, because, he was a sharecropper, and he dealt with Ku Klux Klan, burning crosses on his lawn. And, we really didn't understand that going to the South every year. And yada, yada, yada. It didn't really hit me until the movement of Martin Luther King and then starting to get involved. And I really, really didn't get involved in civil rights until I was in high school. So, and here I am now. I never dreamed that I would be working for a mayor of the city of Detroit. When he became mayor, I was in high school, so I mean, I had an opportunity to work for him and it was amazing. So I never thought I would be having those opportunities, but I really don't have it. I like traveling, of course. I like reading. And I'm a designer. I sew my own clothes. So yeah, and I love to cook. I love to bake. People are like, "You can cook?" Yeah, I can cook. Trust
All of
me.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I can cook. How do you think?
Wait, are you
you
wearing one
know,
of your original designs right now? Show us.
no, you can't see this one because it has wine on it. So I'm trying to be. So it's
Oh
kind
my
of
gosh,
a
that is
little
beautiful.
top. So that's my
Sparkling.
little thing. It
Hmm.
just happens to have about sparkling wine. I was trying to keep the camera up. So
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is such
yeah,
an informal podcast, and I feel
yeah,
like once we're able to meet in person, we probably will have, maybe drinks or something.
yeah, yeah. Once we can meet out in public, right? But I'm a shopaholic. I'm a shoeaholic. I have a whole collection of shoes, and some of the amazing boutiques around here. I have to stay away from Personality, which is on Mack Avenue. It's a new shop, and I've been in there 4 or 5 times since they opened. It's like, okay, I got to stay out of here for a minute. But I like shopping, but I also like to make my own clothes.
Mhm.
And that's just a passion of mine. So um, that's it. I'm just kind of a normal everyday person. I like quiet time. I'm so busy, that sometimes I just like sitting watching TV. And now that it's the Christmas holidays, I get to sit and watch all of the Christmas shows, Scrooge and
Yes, yes.
Charlie
I
Brown.
love, what I love It's a Wonderful Life. And that
Ah,
it's like every year. And they stopped playing it. I remember every station would
yeah,
play it. And
right.
they have stopped that now. It's only, I think, Channel 4 that still plays it. So
Yeah, and they took
um
off the Charlie Brown ones. I think Disney or Apple. I think Apple bought it, and
it's
now
because
you can only
everybody
watch.
has a streaming service now and they don't want
Yeah,
anybody to have a license over.
right, exactly. So but on one of the channels they show all the Christmas things, so I get an opportunity to sit back and like when I get off this call, that's what I'm gonna do. Find a Christmas, and it just takes your mind off of things just to relax. I meditate every morning just to clear my head and get ready for the day. I do Bikram yoga. I do that. Yeah. But now that the COVID, I haven't been able to do it, but I used to do Bikram at least 4 times a week. So I haven't been able to do that because of COVID, but I used to be a bodybuilder.
I'm sorry,
So
what?
I was a competitive bodybuilder for 2 years.
Competitive, not just a
Competitive.
bodybuilder, but a
Right.
competitive
Yeah.
body. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Because I used to work with a woman. She's a makeup artist, and she is like bodybuilding, and I'm like,
Mm.
I need pointers, and she's like way too busy. But I'm like, okay, so now we're gonna have to, me and
Yeah.
you can get together and talk about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know that. But yeah, that was years ago.
Do you
So, but
have photos? Do you have? Because I
oh
need to look at a
yeah,
photo album. Like,
I
and you
do. I
were
have photos.
competitive. How many
Yeah, I
contests
had
did you win?
trophies, but I took the things off and donated them. So yeah, I had about
Oh,
6 trophies,
6
for that.
trophies.
But six. I only competed for 2 years, and there were only maybe 3 contests that I would do a year. And I was a natural bodybuilder, so I didn't take anything. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of bodybuilders, you know, take stuff, and we get tested. So back then it was popular and it was not as detectable as it is now, but
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. You
But it
had
was
some
just
that did it.
lifting weights and hard work and see, this is where your work ethic. I never knew that. This is where this work ethic comes
But
from
I
because
started working when I was 16. I started working in high school.
hmm.
So, and I started working at National Bank of Detroit, and which is now Chase. So I'm back where I started. So Chase Bank downtown. So yeah,
Mhm.
I used to work there. So I started working when I was 16. So yeah, I discipline, you know,
But it
learned
takes a
that from my
certain
parents.
type of discipline to become a bodybuilder. I am so impressed. That is,
Ah,
I swear that was the cherry on top of an amazing interview to learn that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, that was years ago. So
mhm.
I, you know, now I just do Bikram. I do Bikram and I do still do cardio stuff. So every day. And especially now with COVID, I do a lot at home. So so
Okay.
that's me. I'm just a normal everyday person, you know. So but
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for joining us.
oh,
And you know,
absolutely.
this has been Quick to Politic. It has been a pleasure to speak with you. And you know, it's always wonderful when I talk with you. Your wealth of knowledge and
Thank
information,
you.
and you know, just always so humble. So I really appreciate that about you and having you being an advocate in this community. So
Yeah,
thank you
and
for all
you
the
as
work that you do.
well. I mean, I see the things that you do and the initiatives that you had, and I mean, I just see you in the community just being so out there. And it's the pleasure is mine, and it's been a joy meeting you and getting to know you. And I look forward to doing more things with you if we can partner doing some things. But yeah, I just thank you so much for this opportunity. I just really appreciate it, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this. So and a part of this community. So
Okay,
I
and
look
thank
forward
you
to it.
for everybody who joined us out here. I'm gonna go ahead and
Thank
stop that
you.
live stream. Thank you for all of the comments, questions. My other favorite, Cynthia, said that she loves, you know, this interview, and she's also talking about the wonderful Christmas movies. She's been having a Christmas movie-a-thon with her husband.
Yes.
So
And the baking shows, the holiday baking
yes,
show.
yes, exactly, exactly. So
Yes.
thank you for all of you
Yeah.
who joined us out there watching. And so, all right, that's the end of the live.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Okay.